The first worlder in me is about to come out. These playoffs have been kinda disappointing. I know that playoff hockey is fantastic on its own, but most of the heralded matchups were either too short or were lopsided as hell. The fact that the Battle of Alberta only lasted 5 games should be considered a crime against humanity. The Battle of Florida was even worse off. At least we got him, I guess. Regardless of having unrealistic expectations of epic clashes, there was still much hockey to digest. Begin the gravy. If God has mercy on Nashville, he will make sure David Riddick never plays another game for the Preds. They were fucked the moment Soros fell to injury. And even then, he probably wouldn't have been enough. See how they did a damn good job of leaving Connor Ingram out to dry. Philip Forsberg's probably going to do the same to you this offseason. Colorado was just in a different class. Thank you for your participation in this ass-kicking. Here's your hilarious extension of John Hines and complimentary banner celebrating it. What did I tell you? Minnesota didn't have the center depth, nor the special teams, nor the overall horsepower to keep up with legitimate contenders. They were relying on a bunch of players having career seasons and Kaprizov becoming a god to do anything. To answer your question, no, I'm not surprised they shit the bed. This is what the Wild do. Any real opportunity to capitalize, they'll make the wrong move at the wrong time and amplify it with more bullshit. You'll trade for Fleury, yet realize he's suboptimal in your system, so you hurl a desperation heave for Cam Talbot in Game 6. It does nothing because the real problem isn't in the damn net. Blues were trying to give you this series, they were down a few key defensemen. Unfortunately, there was no offensive output besides Kaprizov and Dmitry Kulikov for the other team. This is your all-in year? Maybe in failure it is. I don't even have to say the line. It's infused into their fucking DNA. Stars didn't have the wherewithal to make a deep run this season, but even then they find ways to break their fans' hearts. As mentioned, the only way Dallas was going to make anything of themselves is if Jake Ottinger transcended time and space itself. Take a guess as to what happened. This fucker near single-handedly carried this franchise all the way to a Game 7. But once again, Dallas doesn't have the tactical wizardry nor the youthful energy to match Calgary. For fuck's sake, Otter stood on his head the entire game and you could barely muster a shot on net? Ben Bishop develops head pain from deja vu. It's the same damn situation he faced in 2019, having to lug an offensively challenged trap squad to any sort of relevance. You know what they say. You can lead the Stars to water, but you can't get them to avoid losing in an overtime Game 7. As punishment, Rick Bowness is forced off to the retirement center. He was a great story in 2020, but trust me, it's for the best. You can't fault the Kings for coming up short in a series this early into their rebuild. They fought hard, they took Edmonton to the brink and nearly made hockey's version of the Angels a cold reality. Even then, LA didn't have enough to overcome adversity. Nothing against them whatsoever. The Oilers escaped certain doom on their own, but when you have a 3-2 series lead, you have to twist the knife. New Age Kings, welcome to your first lesson. The Oilers still have high-end talent aplenty, and you lack significant oomph without Doughty at the point. When McDavid scored that second goal in Game 7, you could feel an entire city's worth of anuses unclench. It shouldn't discourage the Kings, though. It was an outstanding season. A bittersweet ending as Dustin Brown officially awaits his jersey retirement ceremony, but the hope in Kings land is back. I await your next move. So much for having the fortune of avoiding the brutal gauntlet of the Atlantic. The only things Boston could wish is that they never started Ullmark and that they played every game at TD Garden. When they were at their home base, they played to near perfection. Only if they could manage to win a game on the road. Coming into the storm surge was almost certain death, thus leading to their loss in 7 hard-fought games. With another series defeat, the question now turns to Patrice Bergeron. And rumors of retirement are starting to bubble to the surface. I doubt they'd let him go anywhere, but if he's gone, the Bruins are going to have a hard time trying to fill his presence in the lineup. This might truly be it for the old core. Even if Bergeron returns, gentlemen, it was a pleasure dunking on Boston with you. Wait a minute, why the fuck did you fire Bruce Cassidy? He wasn't the problem here. Goddamn fucking boys club. I knew they were going to lose this series heading into it. That part isn't what I'm pissed about. It's how they did it. You had to fall apart like that? Really, boys? The 3-1 series lead was very deceiving, but the Pens pissed away chance after chance like it was a junkie. I don't care for the analytics and the shot totals. When you can't enter the fucking zone on multiple 5-on-3s, you deserve to lose. When you give up leads in 3 straight games, you deserve to lose. When you're forced to start an AHL goalie due to mounting injuries, you deserve to lose. When you lose Crosby thanks to a hit Rangers fans claim is clean, you deserve to lose. This is their 5th straight playoff series loss. and most of them have been in humiliating fashion. Now begins quite possibly the biggest offseason in Penn's history. It was a hell of a ride. I will forever cherish the memories this team has brought me, but you're fucking done. The core is in its mid-30s and reinforcements on the way are slim. The time has come to rebuild, but considering they just extended Brian Rust, the answer there is throwing another coin into the slot machine. Just ask the Red Wings how perpetual first-round exits worked out for them. Congratulations, your team still can't make it past the first round of the playoffs. Oh, Capitals, you had so many chances to cultivate the ultimate meme. You were giving Florida fits in most games. You didn't allow a single power play goal all series, yet you somehow kept letting your foot off the gas. Washington had a 2-1 series lead. They were ready to finish them. Then they missed a shot in an empty net. Florida will obviously punish such mistakes and win the game. You'd also believe a 3-0 lead would be easy to hold, but the Panthers are also pretty good at working from such a handicap. Then the piece de resistance in Game 6. One of the greatest goals in Capitals playoff history by TJ Oshie memes to be generated aplenty, but then you remember they can't stop Carter Verhaeghe. The New Orleans Saints of the NHL. This series reinforced it. If only they had Tom Wilson in their lineup. I'm guessing the injury he suffered was to make sure the Panthers would win their first series in over 25 years. Such a pity. How does this keep fucking happening? I don't understand it at all. Toronto was the better team throughout most of this series. They had Tampa Bay on the ropes at least 10 to 15 times in a 7-game span. Game 5, man! The incredible comeback and display of high-end talent. A 3-2 series lead? Then again, they've blown these kinds of series leads before, haven't they? Sorry, Leafs fans, your punishment must be more severe. Game 6, a tremendous comeback thanks to high-end talent all its own. Overtime and glories await, but then Michael Bunting forgot he wasn't in the offensive zone. Game 7 in Leafland, things have to get more painful. The perpetual victim complex must be fueled, and the modern equivalent of the high stick to Gilmore would be presented to Toronto. An interference penalty to Justin Holl. Right as they scored a goal. Nick Paul makes them their bitch in return. Leafs lose in the first round again. The most painful part is that they didn't even choke. They just lost. I'm not laughing, I'm stunned. Okay, I'm still laughing at how pathetic they are. I wouldn't link their fans to a counting video. Their numbers only go up to 3. Blues were so out of line this series that they turned Nazem Kadri into a sympathetic figure. We need to soak that in. Nazem Kadri, he of the inevitable 6-game suspension in the postseason, became a fan favorite faster than Callie Rosen ran him into Jordan Bennington. Oh wait, you're upset by the truth? Don't tell that to the Blues organization or their fan base. Instead of trying to win hockey games, their tactics devolved into kill Kadri. Deliberate elbows to the face, cheap shots after play is stopped, blatant racism, death threats. Unfortunately, you can't give the fans that sent that shit to him a 6-game suspension instead. Colorado will just settle for crushing their spirits by means of the ultimate revenge. Winning. Nazem Kadri now lives rent-free in the hearts of all of St. Louis. If you give him any more space in your head, you'll have to offer him mistaken ownership. Crunky rules overall. Lick the boot. Leave it to Calgary to have the best season they've had in years, yet still end up brutally disappointing us all. Even worse, it had to happen against their most hated rival in Edmonton. They had no answers for their high-end talent. Under their onslaught, Jacob Markstrom melted into a puddle. He went from Vezina nominee to absolute dog shit. Yet you'll ask, how did this happen to a Daryl Sutter team? Isn't he known for his defensive structure? The problem is that the Flames weren't playing Sutter hockey. They got forced into a gunfight they could never win. Calgary may be equipped with AR-15s, but Edmonton's got an arsenal of 50 caliber machine guns. You don't need depth when you can do nothing about Connor and Leon. You also don't need to take a deep look within because the Flames have their new cry to replace the puck was in the net. On the record, this goal by Coleman should have been allowed. He was being forced into the crease by Ceci. The judgment was total bullshit, but what about games 2 through 4? How do you explain 4 straight losses? Think about that while you choke on your victim complex. Part of me thought this was going to be their year. Everything I thought about them in their offseason was wrong, yet they found a way to fold under pressure. It's kind of impressive. Considering how dominant they were at home, anything less than a deep run is a massive disappointment. As we begin the autopsy, 3 things are the main cause of death. First of all, their penalty kill was hot garbage. The Canes dominated 5-on-5, but once short-handed, it was the kiss of death. Next, for a team that was so good at home, you have to win a game on the road once in a while. They lost every single one this postseason. No one can go far like that. Finally, it's in the curse of Freddie Anderson. He never healed from injury. Antti Ranta played his heart out, but then he ran out of gas by Game 6. Softies aplenty, and then it gets worse. The guy best known for being made of glass shattered in Game 7. The hockey world watched as an entire city died in front of them. Obliteration by the Rangers. Another year of coming up short against the team they should have beaten. Get back to the drawing board, Carolina. Something you're doing isn't working. You won a playoff series. That was apparently good enough. You are completely fucking pathetic. This was supposed to be an epic battle of Florida, and all we saw was a gutless charge led by decrepit old men. All of this talent, all of this skill on display, yet they got swept like they were refuse on the floor. They were completely suffocated by a defensive attack that put toll booths on the ice. Fuckers look like the 95 Devils against you. Tampa didn't even have Braden Point. Someone check the Bucks, because their shots weren't going anywhere besides Vasilevsky's body. 3 goals in 4 games. 1 for 31 on the power play for the entirety of the postseason. With them rivaling an all-star team, Andrew Brunette got so tactically spanked in this series that it once again proves that Jack Adams' nomination is all but useless. This was supposed to be a team of destiny, yet Giroux will head to free agency and Jumbo Joe to retirement without a cup. For shame.
You blew it. Good night.
Well, Edmonton, here's the part where the fever dream of a flawed organization's deep cup run wakes up to living in a shoebox. You can't even blame the Oilers for being swept. They just happened to run into a goddamn machine. Every time they tried to overcome Colorado, the team defense lived up to its old stereotypes, or Mike Smith became a roulette wheel. Amazing save or incredibly soft goal to give up? It's a question we still need to answer. The run was deceiving. Edmonton was being carried by high-end talent the whole way, but it doesn't make it any less impressive. Connor and Leon were doing things this league hadn't seen in decades, and it still wasn't close to being enough. They did get a few extra pieces to help out, but still lacked the overall depth to make it to the promised land. Connor and Leon must go hungry again. The only thing I feel good about is Evander Kane not getting a chance at the cup. No, that is totally not the bitter Sharks fan in me coming out. They punched over their weight. We can admit it. Igor Shesterkin was dragging this young group kicking and screaming to a deep run. You can speak about Jacob Trouba's elbow and how they hadn't played a healthy starting goalie these playoffs, but Tampa. Yeah, time to bow out with some grace. They'll give you a 2-game start before sticking you with the bear traps. They'll call in the hunting dogs and proceed to rip the Rangers to shreds. Igor played with everything he had, but Tampa was in an alternate stratosphere. Sadly, this is what tends to happen when you not only play a team starter, but one of the few that's better than Shesty. Suffocated by the deadly toxins of defensive structure and playoff experience. I don't think the Rags are feeling too bad about it. This was their assertion into the Eastern Conference elite. They'll be busy this offseason. Maybe a few all-in splashes? There are some interesting names on the market to consider. Hockey is a spectacle. We're nearly through the marathon, but there's one more round to go. In the West, a new challenger appears in the distance. To tell this rise to power, step into the time machine. We must revisit a dark age in Denver. The year everyone in that area wants to forget. This was rock bottom for the Avs. This season-long debacle had it all. Power struggles, in-house drama, and a shit ton of losing. Nobody did well that year. It was a catastrophic step back for a team that was supposedly near finished with a rebuild. A franchise low in points in that city. Terrible contracts had cursed the franchise. Trade rumors swirled all over the place. They spent the Vegas expansion draft protecting waiver claims. Many wondered if Joe Sakic was going to be a GM for much longer. Worst of all, they got fucked over in the lottery and had to settle for the 4th overall pick. It felt like things were going to hell quick. But sometimes all you need is to unplug the router and wait a few seconds. After they plugged it back in, things got better for Colorado. Almost immediately. You could say it was a symbolic move of trading away the monkey's paw known as Matt Duchene that did it, but I would argue it had more to do with Nathan McKinnon. The fact that this man is not a household name is a travesty. His dazzling stick handling, play driving ability, and pinpoint shot are just a few of the reasons why I believe this. Beside him, their captain in Gabriel Landeskog, freshly minted and a great player all his own. And Mikko Rantanen, who only led the team in points this year. Nothing special, he's just really goddamn good as well. I would talk about the career season of Nazem Kadri, but instead of his traditional 6-game suspension, he's out with injury thanks to Evander Kane being a cheap ass. He will be sorely missed in their quest. That only means guys like Andrei Burakovsky, Alex Newhook, and Arturi Lehkonen have more weight on their shoulders. But there is another weapon to get to. Losing the draft lottery in 2017 happened to be an accidental blessing. That misfortune secured quite possibly the best player in the draft, Cale Makar. A breathtaking game changer in all three zones. Easily one of the premier defensemen in the league. Perhaps generational in talent. Not far behind him, the eternally underrated Devon Toews. Thank you, New York Islanders, for the cap crunch you had a few seasons ago. Colorado will gladly take some of the best analytics in the game. They also have another top prospect in Bowen Byram developing in the wings. Must be nice to have. Rounding the core out, the longtime vet of the club, Eric Johnson, a revived Josh Manson, and Jack Johnson, he of awful contracts signed by Jim Rutherford. Sam Girard would be a part of this list, but he's unfortunately out with injury as well. His talent will also be missed. In net, there's a quandary. Darcy Kemper has been excellent, but he's been banged up by a litany of ailments as well. Fortunately, Pavel Francouz has taken the reins, however, he hasn't been elite this postseason. What has been the Avs' development of players. Look no further than Valery Nichushkin. When he came here, he didn't score a single goal in his last season with the Stars. Now he's one of their best defensive forwards and a scoring threat every time he touches the ice. JT Compher has been vital depth scoring for the club this postseason. Veteran influence infused into the club with Andrew Cogliano and Darren Helm. And it's led to them finally realizing their potential. Colorado has steamrolled through every opponent they faced so far. Nashville and Edmonton were tossed aside like gold cardboard. St. Louis tried to put up a fight, but they were crushed in the end. This was a year where the Avs had immense pressure on them to go deep. If they failed to make it past the second round, they would become the New Age Capitals. However, that fate has been avoided. But they want more than that. Their war is far from over. With their well-rounded approach and strong depth, they are one step away from making the dreams of Denver become true again. But an experienced foe will be trying to stop them. I miss 2019. Things were so much simpler back then. The greatest comedy of a President's Trophy winner being swept by a team on the fringes. Meme economies were built overnight. Their infamous tweet, it merely hid the ugly reality that was to come. Three things have been inevitable since then. Infighting, inflation, and the Tampa Bay Lightning lording over us all. No, what do you mean I'm only saying this due to past comments? That's a narrative. What isn't is the age of dominance that Tampa has entered into. In the cap era, it's even more difficult to maintain a championship contender than it ever was. With the Lightning, it seems almost effortless. This is a group that had lost the entirety of one of their best performing lines in the offseason. Goodrow, Gord, and Coleman were gone. All that entered was Brent Seabrook's contract to alleviate their cap situation and a Corey Perry tired of being beaten by them in the finals. Yet they still managed to thrive. Look at their deadline and you will see how that is. Thinking outside the box. They need bottom six help with a cheap cap hit, and they have a glut of top six prospects that will never get a chance to shine here. What that equates to are their new acquisitions. Brandon Hagel and Nick Paul, whom they paid a premium to get. Hagel hasn't been as impactful as, say, a Goodrow or Coleman, but he's been solid for what he is. Nick Paul near single-handedly carried them past Toronto, and that's worth it all its own. If the core is still intact, everything is fine. When you have Andrei Vasilevsky playing some of the best hockey in his career, when you have offensive firepower with incredible chemistry, when you're able to clamp down on opponents and suffocate them in elimination games, you have a true contender. It wasn't like they had an easy road either. They went through a marathon. Toronto, the forever cursed franchise blessed with elite talent. All of Leafsnet was cheering them on. Game 5 allowed them to put Tampa on the ropes. I'm sorry to inform you boys, but you'll have to embrace more conspiracies as the memes keep flowing. The Panthers, the ultimate revenge tour. Jumbo Joe and Claude Giroux getting a cup on the team of destiny. Offensive firepower for days on end. Who gives a shit, Tampa's still better. The New York Rangers, boasting one of the best goalies in the NHL. Gutsy series wins against proven commodities? A 2-0 series lead? Thrown aside like yesterday's trash. Even more insane is that they've been without Braden Point for the past 2 series. He's on track to return sometime in the final. They're still suffocating their opponents without his services. That's incredibly disturbing. Goes to show you the power of chemistry. Once again, the core from their first 2 runs is still intact. And with that core, the Lightning have the opportunity to do something not done since the Islanders of the 80s. Win 3 straight cups. Hell, if they win it, a new name will be added to a list of 4 straight cup champions. Patrick Maroon, the random outlier on a legendary list. In this final, we'll be witnessing 2 unstoppable machines go against each other. The high-speed locomotive against a reinforced concrete wall. Who wins out in the end? Who knows, but either way, the officials will lose decisively. Now for the moment of truth. I hate to inform everyone, but the NHL is fucked. We hype this league's parity and lack of predictability, but the outcome has remained the same. Tampa Bay is winning the cup for a 3rd straight year. My reasoning is simple. The Lightning play outstanding trap hockey rivaling the mid-90s Devils in elimination games, and Colorado is banged up. They'll be without Contreras, Girard, or Kemper most likely. Tampa's getting Braden Point back. The Avs will make it a series, but the gods must continue to punish us for laughing at them in 2019. It'll be a decisive 6-game victory. The next NHL Haters Guide will simply be me saying you're fucked to 28 teams.
Goes out in front, it is cleared as time winds down here in Tampa. 5 seconds remaining, puck retrieved by Petrie. Lightning strikes twice. The Tampa Bay Lightning win their 2nd